How's it, guys? It's your boy Mr. Calvin the Boss here. We are back with another video. Today's video is basically going to be a tutorial to a certain extent. So basically what's going to happen is that I'm going to be covering how exactly I do my tuning, because I've had a few people ask me for advice and so forth. The long and short of it is that it's just a whole lot of trial and error, but I'll show you guys the basics of it. And we're gonna start that by choosing a completely random car. So I'm going to be purchasing a car from the auto show, and I'm then going to be modifying it and showing you guys different methods that I would normally use to get a car. I actually want to try and see if I can find something that would be rather tail happy to begin with.
2 hours later.
Okay, so we're basically just going to be taking this 240SX. There we go. I'm just basically going to be taking this 240SX. I'm going to be painting it white, keeping it as sleeper as possible. I'm going to be doing a V8 conversion on it, just so that it actually makes a bit more power and I can show you guys a realistic situation. Because as much as you'd like to use, you know, a 240 ZX for a drag car that is running a V8 engine, it's not always the easiest thing to do. But with this I'll be able to show you guys how it's possible. So this is the two different body kits that you get. Normally I would say I would go against body kits, but the reasoning behind getting an actual body kit at this point is more for the tires. So if you look at that, you can get the tires a bit wider than that. However, that is just way wider, and normally you would use this for drifting, but in our case I'm going to basically be using this for a drag setup. So this comes with the engine pre-installed, which is a plus, but we're just going to run through everything to make sure it is 100% upgraded, because we want to be able to push as much power as possible into the rear wheels. So here we go, that's the one that we want. Rear wheel drive setup, we're going to go with the twin turbo, and this is already with the Rocket Bunny body kit installed. As for aesthetics, you don't need to worry about it too much. What you want though is you want to have the lightest possible thing. So for our purpose, the wing doesn't actually make that much of a difference, so you might as well have it off. You want to have obviously your drag tires on there. You want your front tires to be as narrow as possible, because again, as you can see, the weight is on 1195 kgs, and then you end up losing 10 kgs of weight because of just having a wider tire. So tires up front, or whichever tire basically is going to be is not going to be accepting any power from the drivetrain, you have the smallest possible tire on, and then obviously you want the wider tires where you are going to be receiving power. So if you have a four-wheel drive setup, in that case obviously all four of your wheels would have to be as wide as possible. For the lightest possible rims, you want to go to specialized rim style, and I normally tend to use these because I think they look the best for what they are. Ultimately we're not really going for aesthetics, but more for purpose. And you want your rim size to also be the smallest, because as you can see, we've literally dropped 17 kgs by just changing rim sizes and taking off a wing so far. So we've basically lost about 20 kgs just in doing these small minor things. You want to have your clutch at maximum, gearbox so you can adjust the ratios, of course. Differential, the drive line will also decrease weight for you, and you want to have a full differential tuning. I'll show you guys how that works. Not really as relevant in rear wheel drive setups, but if you're doing four wheel drive, it's a huge plus. Also, we installing brakes. Obviously on a drag car you wouldn't need brakes, but weight wise it saves you like, what's that, 7, yeah, it saves you like something like 11 kgs or something like that. So yeah. And then for suspension, a lot of drag guys know this, you want to start with rally suspension. That, and then to save weight, we also removing chassis. We're removing roll cage. And then as for engine mods, we're just maxing out everything. So you're going to get to a point here at the bottom where you're going to notice that some of the mods doesn't make sense. So like this is an oil cooler. You get 6 kilowatts extra for installing the oil cooler, but your weight literally increases by, what's that, like 18 see, it's 2 6, it's like 18 kgs, which doesn't make any sense. So you don't want an oil cooler and then we install a racing flywheel because yeah, so it helps our case. And yeah, we've basically overstayed. We've dropped 100 kgs. Yeah, we've lost 6 kilowatts, but 100 kgs is substantial, I'd say. You basically remove the weight of another driver out of the car. So from here, all we have to do is just basically go to the drag strip, and from there we will be tuning it with trial and error. So as you guys have seen, we did all the mods to it, and now we have to tune based on those modifications that we've made. So I'm going to do a standard run, even though we know it's going to be horrible. I'm going to do a standard run with no tuning done whatsoever to show the difference. We're just going to basically be using normal launch control because obviously accelerating will be way too much. So it actually did surprisingly well though. I was assuming there would be way more wheel spin than what there actually was. But it can still be, you know, there is room for improvement. It actually did get a bit of wheel spin, nothing bad, but yeah. Let's see, out of curiosity, if we add a bit of acceleration. Okay. So we will basically be getting it to a point where once we accelerate, there will not be any more wheel spin. It's 269 total. Okay. So, first things first. We need to get rid of this wheel spin that we're having while we're accelerating. So, how do you address wheel spin? A few different ways. So we're gonna go into the tuning menu, and when you go to your tuning menu, the first thing I'm gonna do is to check the tire pressure of wherever your torque is going. In this case, we have a rear-wheel drive setup, so you want to drop your tire pressure as low as possible, because the lower tire pressure will mean that you actually have more grip with softer tires. And then in this case, the front wheels, because no torque going to it, we're going to increase the pressure a bit, because theoretically that makes the tires a bit lighter if there's more air in it, and it also means that there will be less friction. So this here, I normally will actually run these cars on a 3 or 4 gear tune. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to leave the final drive as it is for now, just increase first gear so it goes like until there. Maybe because of the way the gearbox is, I might have to do a 4 gear tune on it, but we'll see what happens. I just felt that the gearbox itself was a bit like too quick in my opinion, like the gear ratios were too short. So we'll see now how it actually performs with better gear ratios. There is actually, with regards to choosing, so you guys will see that I'm basically like now adjusting the lines that they follow a type of order. So there is actually a more scientific way to do this. If you go into your settings where you would change the parts of the car, you'll see it shows you a graph there, and this graph basically will show you your torque and your power. So normally what you do is you would take note of what RPM range that two lines would intersect, and you will then know that is your red line. And with that also you will then know when you're actually going to be able to move your shifting point to. So for example, let's just say you hit your peak you hit your peak torque curve at 3000 rpm. Then you would basically adjust it so that the next gear comes in at that peak point, so that you can take full advantage of your gear ratios basically. So let's move that there. Remember, this is all going to be trial and error. I don't know how the setup is going to do, but we'll do this and then see where we go from there. With regards to alignment, I normally like to have everything zeroed out. Anti-roll bars, I'll normally make the rear, because it's the rear wheel drive, I'll normally make that stiff, and then I'll make the front soft. What I also do that actually plays a bit of a role is that I'll take note of the specs on the left hand side. So if you look, you'll see we went up by about 1 second of where we were previously, but sometimes what happens is that as you make other modifications to the tune as well, then it starts to drop lower than what it was previously. Like there we're going back to where we were previously, with me just making everything more stiff basically. And also some cars like to be lowered, others don't. Just check that timing point, see there, like I lost a bit of time there, so in that case I'll leave it on the highest ride height for now. We might get to a point where we actually get so much traction that the front starts lifting off the ground. If we do get that, then we'll just lower the height of the front to kind of like adapt to that. So yeah, as you guys can see, I'm just basically making every single setting that's in the rear as tough as possible. If you do this for a full wheel drive setup, then I'd normally make like everything right around as tough as possible, but yeah. It all depends on what you're having in this case, because you're doing a rear wheel drive, which a lot of people tend to struggle with. I thought this would be best. So let's see what we end up with here. And we have rain, perfect. So for anyone that doesn't know, the rain does actually have a substantial effect on what your drag performance will be. Like I'm fairly positive if I try to do this now, that I'll end up spinning a lot more than what I did previously. There's actually a trick for anybody if you want to be able to do like standstill burnouts. Go to your brakes and you can just adjust the ratio from there, depending on what your car likes. Sometimes cars will do it on 25%, others will want to have it like lower than that, 10%, 5%, whatever. And you can then do that. Heating up your tires makes a big difference as well, guys. I might do a video where I'll show you guys some of my other cars and how they perform with cold and hot tires. But yeah, sometimes having some cold tires can make or break your race. And already we've actually beaten our previous time by 3 kilometers an hour. So I've basically like now got it down to a point where it's using a 3-gear tune, which I'm very happy with. So all that I think I'll do is I might just make first gear a bit more nippy. So I'm basically like a tiny bit more acceleration into first gear, and make third a bit longer, and then drop second gear, add some acceleration basically, speed to it, just to kind of balance it out a little bit. And I think we'll actually be good to go at this point. It's actually more surprisingly fast than I was expecting it to be. When you get cars like, for example, the Nissan the GTR 35. It has way more acceleration, so it's just so much more difficult to deal with. But let's see how it does now. Okay, so our pull away was actually a bit sluggish. I think we can add some more acceleration into first. And maybe even make second gear a bit shorter as well. So first gear, we can actually just try and do this and see what happens. Okay, so if we look at our 0 to 97 time, it actually dropped a little bit at that point even. But let's first see what actually happens, because I might have to make third gear longer since I did the final drive. Okay, so first gear is still too long, so I have to add some more acceleration into first. This is basically how my tuning goes all the time, guys. Like I've told people already that when it comes to like the golf that you guys have just seen in some of the races that I use, there's easily 3 to 4 hours put into the golf just in tuning, and this is basically what it comes down to. This is the type of sacrifice that you have to make. I mean, yeah, it is a game, but at the same time, you know, for guys like us, some people will get bored with it. We just enjoy doing this, you know. It's just something that we are passionate about. So I have a feeling that we might start to get the front of the car lifting up now, but we'll see. Okay, okay. First gear needs to get some more acceleration, and we still now 3 gear tune, so now we know we can basically get through the entire drag with our setup being as it is. However, we need to add some more acceleration into first and second gear. So the way we will know basically that we have a perfect point is purely because the car just won't feel as sluggish. So as long as the car just doesn't feel sluggish, and you might want like a tiny amount of wheel spin, but nothing hectic. The reason also why you would want to have like a 3 gear tune is because you have to remember that every single time when you shift, it's actually time that's taken to do that shift, and it might not be much, but it ends up making a big difference after a while. That was actually quite good. Maybe just like a tiny bit more acceleration. Once we get to a point where it starts to, like, you know, spin wheels, okay, once it gets like wheel spin substantially, at that point we'll know, okay, we have to tap off a little bit. But I actually need to get the tune done because it's about to start raining again. So let's see what that does. Like I said, we weren't very far off, but like just it's the small things that makes the biggest difference. And by no means, guys, by no means is this going to be the fastest 240 S6 ever. All that I'm trying to do is just to basically show like the basics of how to actually tune. So there will be guys out there who will be like, oh, my 240 S6 is faster than that, and no doubt it probably is. But I mean, for someone that's you know, getting into tuning, this is probably the best way to learn how to do it. Like, there's a lot of the game itself isn't exactly perfectly linked to what real life situations would be with regards to tuning. However, you know, you have to get used to what the in-game mechanics are, and these are the mods that you basically have to do on your in-game mechanics to you know, get to that point where it performs well. So yeah, I always feel trial and error is the best possible way. Literally everyone in the group that I'm in the Calvin the Boss racing group feels the same way. So yeah, we are almost actually there. I just feel this needs like a tiny bit more adjusting. And you'll see now it actually does considering it's a racing game. Something that might remedy the problem a little bit is if we add more acceleration at this point. Because as you guys already seen, we're basically launching from 5000 RPM, which is normally a sweet spot. But I feel that maybe if I up that to around 7000 RPM, it would be even better. And there we got wheel spin, okay. I don't know if that's even because of the rain or because of the acceleration. That's why I'm not such a big fan of the rain. Nah, that's the rain. Alright, I guess we're waiting again. Thanks, Forza, I guess. And as you guys can see, we actually got some smoke, so we are ready to go. So let's see what happens here. That was actually good. So that was us launching from 6000 RPM, and it actually took off quite well. I think we might have actually gotten this right. Because normally what I would do is that if I'm launching, then I'm normally launching from about 7000 RPM or so, depending on the car. But if you don't want to always like clear the crap out of something, you can just remedy the situation by accelerating. So yeah, that wasn't as good. I highly doubt that we will take out the Super with this tune, but hey, let's go. Let's see what happens. We did not just do that. We did not just take out the Super with a car that I tuned in a few minutes. But yeah guys, this is basically what it comes down to with tuning. I can actually add a bit more acceleration to this even. I was just remedying a simple situation. Or like a simple tune with trying to add some acceleration to it, but yeah, let's see how this actually does. My guy's literally going to wait on the full screen sitting when not so full screen. Anyway, I don't think he's very happy about the fact that a V8 or at least a lot of this could be super. I'm standing way over the line, but okay, let's go. Wow, okay, well done. But yeah guys, I think that's gonna be a wrap for this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section. I'd like to hear what you guys think. And if you want me to go into more detail about anything, please hit me up. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you guys so much.